Welcome back, guys, to the Andrew Dillich podcast. Another episode, another reality check. I'm going to be alone. You know what? I kind of like doing episodes alone, reality checks from time to time. Sometimes when I do them too much, I'm like, okay, let's get a guest, let's get Luke on, whatever. But sometimes I just I don't know. I'm at home, whatever, I can be at work, and I'm just like, you know what? I feel like doing an episode. I got some shit to say, some things to get out of my chest, some things that I maybe saw on the internet, on social media, in the television, with journalists, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I got a lot to say. So let me do a reality check. I'm going to be alone. So let me start off with a quote that I heard Elvis Presley say when he was alive. I read it on social media. And he said, I guess the more popular you are, the more criticism you get. And this just proves that the more successful you'll become in life, the more haters you'll have, which is normal. More eyes on you. And when people look at you more, when there's more eyes on you, there's also more evil eye on you. There's also more jealousy towards you, more envy, more hatred, and just everything else that comes with human nature and with the dark side of a human being when he looks at someone who's more successful than him and has accomplished more out of life. And it's just a normal human reaction from people who aren't living a good life and from people who don't feel good deep down inside. When they don't feel fulfilled and they're not in a good mental state and they're not in a good headspace, of course, they're always going to look for places where they can bring people down and just make them feel like shit. That's just normal. So, of course, the more you have and the more popular you become, the richer you become, the more successful you get, the more of your dreams you accomplish. That even just simply by being happy, people can get all riled up and all angry at you because you're happy. It's crazy to say, it's even sad to say, but it's a fact. Some people, and I wish them all the best. I pray for them. I wish them all the best. I hope God blesses them and helps them get out of that situation in life. But some people have it so hard. They're such in a poor mental state, and they just don't feel good inside, that they're always looking to bring people down. And of course, they're not going to bring someone down. They're not going to bring someone that they value or that they see as less than them. They're not going to bring him down because they already see him and they already value him as someone who's less than him. That's how they see it. So they're always going to go towards people who have more than they do, who seem happier, who seem to live a better life, to people who actually have a better life, more success, more fame, more status, more whatever, than these people who aren't living a successful life and who don't feel good inside. Of course, their natural reaction is going to be to bring these other people down, because these people who are living a beautiful life, a successful life, a happy life, they are making them feel like shit, not because they're doing it on purpose, but simply by them shining their light, by them being the best versions of themselves. This is pissing off these other people who aren't living the best life and who aren't necessarily living the best life that they could be living, and who aren't necessarily being the best versions of themselves. So, of course, like Elvis Presley said, and I mean, of course, you don't have to take my word for it. Like, I spoke about this topic many times on my podcast, but Elvis fucking Presley, throughout history, he's one of the most famous individuals to ever exist. Elvis fucking Presley. I mean, everyone knows for Elvis Presley. There's Michael Jackson, there's Jesus, there's Elvis fucking Presley. Like, everyone knows who Elvis Presley is. And he said it himself. He said, I guess the more popular you are, the more criticism you get, because he wasn't born popular. He became famous when he was older, maybe not older, but when he was like 19, 20. So from, let's say, 11 to 18, he wasn't famous. And he saw that no one cared for him. No one criticized him because he wasn't famous. And then once he became famous, rich, good looking, successful, happy, and all of this, I mean, happy to a certain degree, because he did have a really not sad life, but he wasn't as happy as outsiders would have thought he would have been. Like or not, like, if someone was to ask me if I was living at the same time as Elvis Presley, do you think that Elvis Presley is a happy person? I would have said yes immediately. Like, what do you mean? How is that even a fucking question? The guy literally has everything that a man wants to have. That's Elvis Presley. He literally had everything a man wanted to have, and he wasn't the happiest guy. But so let's say happy, quote unquote. Who knows how happy he actually was? Maybe in the beginning of his life, beginning of his career, he actually was joyful and happy. Maybe that's something else. But I know that at the end, of his life where he gained a lot of weight. He only used to stay at home. He used to consume a lot of drugs and alcohol, and he had a really bad diet. That's why he gained a lot of fucking weight, became really fat. That was like probably at the end of his career, and I feel like that's where maybe he was more sad. But maybe that's an emotion he had throughout the beginning of his life. Is just it became worse and worse because he never really worked on his emotions and whatever, and it just became worse and worse. Maybe that's one of the cases. But altogether, as an outsider, people looking at Elvis Presley from an outside perspective, everyone would have said that he's a happy individual and he has one of the best lives on planet Earth. Like no man, you can ask any man on planet Earth, any man who's slightly ambitious, not even highly ambitious, but just slightly ambitious, they would all say, I wish I had Elvis Presley's life, and I would give everything to have Elvis Presley's life. Elvis Presley had that life, and he ended up being depressive and sad. So that also backs up the claim that money doesn't buy happiness, fame doesn't buy happiness, success doesn't necessarily buy happiness. I think it goes way deeper than something that you can touch, something that's like money or like fame or like status seeking. I think it goes way deeper than that. I think it's something that's more emotional and more inside of you as an individual, something that's more philosophical and all of that. I think it's more related to that than, let's say, money, fame, or status, or whatever else. But if I get back to his quote, I guess the more popular you are, the more criticism you will get. Next topic. I heard Alex Hormozi, he wrote this on Facebook, and I just had to talk about it. And I just wanted to, even if I don't necessarily talk about it, I just wanted to express it to the world so that even for someone who's watching, you can listen to this beautiful piece of advice from Alex Hormozi. He said, "You're not where you want to be because you don't have the skills to get there yet. But you have all the time in the world to learn them as long as you never give up." It's as simple as that. If you're not where you want to be in life, it's not because you were born in a different country. It's not because your parents weren't rich. It's not because of outside events. It's not because of other people. It's simply because you don't have the skills yet to be in that position that you wish to be. Even if you think you have those skills, reality check, you don't. You don't have those skills, and that's why you're not where you wish you were. If you had those skills, you would be where you are supposed to be, but you don't have them yet. But the good thing, the upside is, first of all, you can acquire any skill you want to acquire as long as you're willing to put in the work and do what's necessary in order to acquire the skills. And you have a lot of fucking time. Yes, life goes by quickly, but you still have a lot of time to acquire all the skills that you need to reach all the potential that you can reach from yourself and to reach all the goals that you want to reach and all the dreams that you want to accomplish. You have all the time in the world, but get to work. And one thing which is the most important is no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you fail, no matter how hard it gets, never give up. If you give up, you lose. If you don't give up, you'll end up winning. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to take my word for it, Alex Hormozi said it. He's highly, highly successful as a media, as a podcaster, as a speaker, as a businessman. As an individual, he's highly, highly successful. And also on top of that, he's really fucking shredded. So even when it comes to fitness and the gym, going to the gym, he's highly successful even there. So Alex Hormozi, as an individual, he's a unicorn. He's highly, highly successful. And the reason he expressed this is because even he knows that when he started off, when he wasn't rich, when he wasn't successful, when he didn't have all the money in the world, when he didn't have that body, that fame, that status, he knew that even in the beginning, how hard it was for him and how much actually he didn't have the skills necessary to have what he has now. But he kept grinding. He never gave up, which then translated and which then led up to him having that physique, having all that money, that status, that success, and all that is Alex Hormozi. But he knows that in the beginning, you're not going to have those skills because you never did it before. That was also his case. He didn't have the skills. He found it something that he really loved. He did a crazy amount of volume. He never gave up. He learned throughout the process, throughout the trajectory. He learned to get better. He acquired more skills. And then at the end of the day, he accomplished his dreams. He became successful. He reached all his goals, all his targets. Highly successful. A lot of money, fame, status, and he has a dream physique for himself and for many other people. For me, in my opinion, it's a bit too bulky, but hey, I'm not going to deny the fact that in order to reach that physique, it's really fucking hard and it takes a lot of fucking work in order to reach that physique. Like it or not, aesthetically wise, it takes a lot of fucking work. Like bodybuilders, right? Like, I don't like the shape of a bodybuilder. I think they're too muscular, they're too big, but I understand how hard it is to acquire that body and to reach that physique. It's really fucking hard and takes a lot of fucking work. Next topic. So my thoughts on people who don't want to criticize politicians because they're afraid. I understand. In general, we're all afraid of public speaking. No one likes to speak publicly. And on top of that, the scariest public speaking that exists out there is political public speaking. Like they always say in business, we don't talk about politics or religion because those two topics are the most sensitive topics when it comes to human conversation. They're the two most sensitive topics that exist. But in my opinion, politicians should be the people, the public figures that we criticize the most because they're the ones that we appointed and that we gave them the power to control and dictate, to control and lead our government and our country. Since we are the ones who gave them that power, with great power comes great responsibility. We need to hold them accountable. We need to be quick to pull the trigger on when they do something bad or when they do something good. Politicians should be the ones who get the most criticism, and they do, and as they should. Why? Because they have the most power, and we gave them that power. They didn't acquire that power they didn't take the power by pure strength. They took it because we voted for them, meaning that we gave them that power. And if we give them that power, with great power comes great responsibility. So in my opinion, not only should we not be afraid to criticize politicians, but it should be like a normal thing for human beings to be quick and to feel easy to criticize politicians. That's how it should be, in my opinion. So it should be completely the opposite. But of course, with human nature, where first of all human beings are afraid of public speaking. They're afraid of expressing themselves publicly, which is normal, and especially when it comes to politics and religion. So I understand, but if we think about it logically, politicians should be the people that we criticize the most, and they should be the people that we feel the most comfortable to criticize. Broski, let me just remind you one fact about Canada, about America, and the Western world. It's a democratic place where freedom of expression exists. You're allowed to express yourself without being fearful of facing prison, facing jail time, or facing violence from other people. It may happen, but they'll suffer the consequences of their actions by the law, by the judge. But in general, it's not going to happen. So don't be afraid to express yourself. Don't be afraid to criticize public figures, especially politicians, when they do something that's wrong. We need to hold them accountable whenever they fuck up, and that's a fucking fact. There's this one quote from Martin Luther King, rest in peace, one of the biggest human beings to ever exist, and he said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." I understand that sometimes staying silent is the easiest route, is the easier route to take because you're not going to face the possibility of getting rejected publicly from your opinions and from you expressing yourself publicly. You're not going to get rejected by the public. I understand that. But our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. We need to talk about things that matter, even if they're hard conversations, even if they're touchy subjects, even if they're sensitive subjects. We need to talk about it. And we shouldn't be afraid, and there shouldn't be so much stigma, and there shouldn't be so much we need to address the elephant in the room. It should be something that we all talk about freely, because democracy is all about conversation and having the possibility for everyone to express themselves openly and freely, and for there to be conversations, argumentations about all topics, no matter how touchy and no matter how sensitive they may be. We should all be allowed to talk about it and to express our feelings and to have a normal, democratic, and civilized discussion and debate between ourselves. That's how it should be. There's also one quote from Plato, which is one of the biggest philosophers, ancient Greek philosophers, and he said, one of the penalties of refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Like it or not, in my opinion, the most competent people, the smartest people should be the ones in power and making the decisions for our lives. Why? Because they're the smartest and they're the most competent. Logical, right? As long as he doesn't let his ego take control of him and then he only thinks about himself and then he doesn't give a fuck about fucking up the population, the society, and the vast majority of the citizens. If he's the smartest and the most competent and he's capable of putting his ego to the side, he should be the one who governs us. That's not our inferior. That's our superior. But what happens is, it is sad to say, but in general, people who get to power are the people who want it the most. Not necessarily the smartest people, not necessarily the most competent, but simply the people who want it the most. People who are ready to die, people who are ready to do whatever it takes to get in power. In general, they're the ones who get in power. That's what happens. They're also, in general, more confident and they just want it more. The people who want it the most, smart or not smart, competent or not competent, if he's driven like an animal, if he's hungry like a fucking starving lion and he keeps moving forward and he wants to hold a position of power, he'll end up being our governor and being the one who governs us. That's what happens. Power has always been to the people since the dawn of time, even when kings and absolute rulers existed. That's my opinion. The reason that kings existed is because the majority of the population let them exist. It's because we allowed them to exist. No human being has power over other human beings. When a human being only has power over another human being, when that human being allows him to have power over him. That's the only time that a human being can have power over another human being, is when we allow them to have power over us. In France, right, when they cut off the head of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, what happened? What's the single thing that happened? It's not like God came on earth. It's not like magic happened. What simply happened is the population, the majority of the population, the majority of citizens said enough is enough. We don't want them to govern us anymore. We don't want a king anymore. Off with them. We're cutting off their heads. What happened? They cut off their heads. And then Napoleon came into power, and then the rest is history. That's what happened. Same goes for Muammar Gaddafi, right? He was a dictator in Libya. He was the absolute ruler in Libya. He had that power because the population allowed them to have that power, and they let him have that power. But once the population said enough is fucking enough, we're sick and tired of Gaddafi, what happened? They shot him in the streets. They shot him dead in the streets like a dog. They even took a fucking wooden stick and they shoved it up his, you know what I'm going to say. That's what they did. They took his golden gun, and there's the picture of a normal Libyan citizen holding his golden gun while Muammar Gaddafi is getting killed in the street like a dog. Same went for the dictator of Iraq. What was his name? Fucking really famous. Fucking everyone knows his name. Whatever his name was, I forgot it. But what happened? He had power over Iraq, over the citizens of Iraq, because the citizens of Iraq allowed him to have that power. They gave him that power. But once they said enough is enough, once the Americans got involved and they said enough is enough, what happened? They hung him by the neck. That's what happened. What was his fucking name, man? From Iraq. Bro, how did I forget his name? Whatever. Let me get his name. I gotta get his name. Iraq dictator. Yo, bro, he's really, how did I forget his name? He's really fucking famous. Iraq dictator, give me his name. Saddam Hussein. That's his name. When the population had enough of him, what happened? They killed him. That's what happens. When North Korean population will have enough of Kim Jong-un or his successor or whoever it may be, but once the population of North Korea says that enough is enough, they'll get up and they'll kill whoever has to get killed in order for them to be free. Because since the dawn of time, since humans exist, the power has always been to the people. It's just sometimes the people, the vast majority of population weren't aware of it. But once they say that enough is enough, enough is fucking enough. History proved it many times, and that's always going to be the case. Always, because that is how it works. No human being has power over another. They only have power when we allow them to have power over us. Let's talk about the future, right? I understand humans fearing the future. Thank you, broski. I understand humans fearing the future. But in my opinion, of course, there's AI and me simply listening to podcasters. I listen to a lot of podcasts, public speakers. They all have different opinions when it comes to AI. Some people fear it. Some people embrace it. Some people have simply no opinion regarding it. But in my opinion, the future is promising, friendly, and better than what it's going to be now. Why? Because throughout history, yes, it doesn't necessarily become perfect. Now in 2026, it's not perfect, but neither was it in 1926, neither was it in 1826, and neither was it in 1726, and the list goes on. It's never going to be perfect. Life, humanity, whatever else, it's never going to be perfect, and there's never going to be a perfect time to live in the world. Never. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be something that human beings are going to be looking to solve, because there's always going to be problems in life, in the world, and in human nature. There's always going to be problems. But as we move forward, as we move towards the future, it only gets better and better and better and better. That's my opinion. I understand some people fearing AI. Oh my God, robots are coming. They're going to cut our throats. They're going to control us. We're going to be their bitches. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I understand people being conspiracy theorists regarding AI. Like, at the end of the day, I can't even blame them, because it's kind of logical thinking, right? AI is getting really fucking powerful. Everyone uses ChatGPT. And then we listen to movies. We hear people talk on social media, on podcasts, whatever. Oh my God, AI is going to take over. Imagine one day they create robots. They become physically stronger than us, faster, smarter, more competent, whatever. It's just a question of time that they end up ruling, right? This is my phone, right? Right now it's open. Now it's shut, and I can take the battery out and it's not going to work anymore. In my opinion, that's going to be the same when it comes to AI and when it comes to robots. Right now, ChatGPT helps me because I want it to help me. If I want to delete it, I can delete it, and I'll never ever use ChatGPT again. I'll never ever use AI again. So that's why I said it so many times. In my opinion, AI, as much as cars exist to serve us, as much as this mic exists to serve me and to serve us, as much as houses exist to serve us, as much as televisions exist to serve us, as much as my phone exists to serve me, as much as ChatGPT exists to serve me, like or not, ChatGPT is like the traditional Google, but on steroids. That's what ChatGPT is. It's there to serve me. I feel like that's going to be the same for AI, even 200 years from now, 500 years from now, 1 billion years from now. AI is going to exist to serve the human race. It's always going to be like that. As long as the human race exists on planet Earth, as long as we're not extinct, we're always going to be at the top of the food chain, always. And whatever we create, robots, AI, spaceships, whatever it may fucking be, it's always going to be for the purpose to better our lives and to serve us and make our lives easier and better. Just like the vehicle, just like our cars, just like our houses, just like my phone, just like our laptops, just like whatever we have right now, it's there to serve the human race. This chair here is there to serve humans, so we can sit and be comfortable. This mic, this table, so I can put my glass of water, so I can put my phone, so I can put my case. My case is here to serve my phone because my phone serves me, so in a way it's serving me by protecting my phone. Everything humans create is to make our lives, to make the human lives easier, to make the human race have a better life and an easier and more practical life. Talking about AI, and before that, talking about absolute rulers, kings, and democracy, let me give you a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was president of the United States, one of the best rated presidents of the United States to ever exist. And he said, democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. Now in 2026, I know there's a lot of like people bashing on education. Oh, university is the biggest scam, this, that, or whatever. At the end of the day, yes, education and university, maybe, in my opinion, it needs to change, it needs to evolve, but education and knowledge remains power. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is the ultimate power. That's always been the case, is a case right now, and it's always going to be the case. Knowledge will always be power. Education will always be power. Of course, in my opinion, university isn't a scam. It's not a scam. It's a really beautiful thing that you can go and do. Go to university and get a degree and do something that you're interested, pursue something you're interested in. But yes, the education system in North America has to change, and the Western world has to change. I know that some Scandinavian countries are making really real changes and really big progress in their educational system, but that's not the case in North America. For Canada and for America, that is not the case. We need to make a lot of changes, because democracy without education, without knowledge, society without knowledge, without education, we cannot advance and make society better. The reason that the Western society is so full of innovation and advancements and is the most rich place on planet Earth is simply because education here is really, really high and really, really important. And knowledge and education is key here, which allows human beings to innovate, to develop new foundings, to develop new things, and then to make society move forward. It's all thanks to education, and it's all thanks to knowledge. Democracy does have flaws. It does have flaws. Don't get it twisted. It does have flaws. But it is by far the best system in the world for humans. Throughout humanity, throughout history, we've tried everything. Kings, dictatorships, democracy, ancient Greeks invented it, absolute rulers, monarchs, you name it. At the end of the day, democracy, power to the people, is the most important and is the thing that works the most. Because at the end of the day, no human being likes to get told what to do. No human being likes to feel that they don't have any liberty, no freedom, and no power over their own lives. No one fucking likes that. No one. Even if he's the most, even if it's someone who's the most, like, the least alpha male and the most, like, subservient person, even that person, maybe he won't express it vocally, but deep down, he's not going to like to be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, how to live his life, what he can do and what he cannot do. No human being loves that. Of course, we need to keep laws of you cannot fucking infringe on the liberty of others, on the safety of others, and etc. But when it comes to you being able to do whatever you want, that's why in the American Constitution they have a constitution that is written. They have an amendment which is the pursuit of happiness, the right for the pursuit of happiness, which means that you have the right to pursue whatever you want, which will bring you then happiness. Whichever career, whichever dreams you have, which the pursuit of happiness is basically the American dream, is you have the right to pursue whatever you want, which will bring you happiness in terms of career, relationships, and whatever else. That is what the pursuit of happiness is to be able to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish and succeed in whichever field or domain you wish to succeed, because you're passionate about that domain and that field, and you wish to become successful in that field and that domain. Like I said, democracy does have flaws. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It could take some tweaks here and there, but it remains the best system in the world. And throughout history, we've seen it, and it's always going to be the best system. Same goes for capitalism. Maybe on paper, communism works on paper. The way Karl Marx wrote it, that's like a utopian society. But let's not forget, human beings aren't robots. We have egos, we have emotions. Like it or not, we want to succeed. We want to own a Lamborghini. We want to own 50 Lamborghinis. We want success. We want excess. That is a human brain. And we have ego. And we are all individualistic, which is okay, which is actually good, because when you're individualistic, you're looking to become highly competent and to solve other people's problems, and you want to be compensated with money, with status, and whatever. But you, by becoming competent, you by accomplishing something, and you by becoming the best version of yourself, you're solving many other people's problems. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg, he had the dream to accomplish and to build a social media platform, right? His dream was for himself, for his ego, and for his individualistic ambitions. More money, more status, power, whatever. But by him creating social media, we all benefit from it in a positive way. We all benefit from it. So it's a win-win situation when it's capitalism and when it's an individualistic society. It's a win-win situation. Same goes for, let's say, Kevin Hart, right? For his ego, for his individualistic ambitions, he wanted to become a stand-up comedian, to make millions of dollars, to be famous, and to have status. By him acquiring the skills, becoming competent in that domain, becoming competent in that field, becoming funny, by him becoming Kevin Hart, the stand-up comedian who makes millions of dollars per year and who's highly famous across the world, by him becoming the best version of himself, he solved many other people's problems who are a big fan of him. He makes us laugh. He makes us laugh. He solves one of our problems, which is human beings love to laugh. We love to hear someone who's funny. He solves that problem for us. There's value to it, so we give him money. Same goes for these preachers in America like Joel Osteen, Rick Warren, and the other guy, I forgot his name, with the devil fucking eyes. I understand that they're preaching the gospel, that it's about Christianity and it's about religion, that people can criticize them and say, oh my God, you're taking money, you're fucking multimillionaires. They're solving a problem that the majority of the population has. He's motivating them. He's preaching the Bible. People see value in it. And when there is value, something, money flows there. That is how capitalism works. That is how the economy works. When there's value somewhere, and when someone brings value to the table by solving other people's problems, either through preaching the gospel, by being a stand-up comedian, by creating the biggest social media platform in the world, Facebook, Instagram, by creating a new car, by inventing something that people find value to because it solves one of their problems, money flows there because we throw money at them. That's how it works. Okay, thoughts on people who criticize democracy because, in their opinion, only a few chosen people should be allowed to vote and to make decisions on who should be in power. I've heard many times this opinion and this argument on social media through podcasts and other people. And many people say that they don't like democracy because they don't like the fact that everyone has the right to vote, no matter their IQ level, no matter their status, no matter their education. And they feel like only a certain group of people should be allowed to vote in terms of IQ, knowledge, education, and all the rest. I'm all against it. I understand their logic of, okay, but if we take only the smartest people and only they can choose, wouldn't that make society better? Maybe that's a different topic. I don't know. But like I said in the beginning of the episode, no human being likes to be told what to do, and they all want to have a say in how their lives should be lived and how they should be allowed to live their lives. Like it or not, he's alive, he has his life, he lives in the same country as you, so he should have the same right to express himself and to have a say and to have the same voter power than you. Even if you're smarter or whatever, one vote is one vote, because that one vote, that population represents the country. So if the country has a lot of dumb people, well, hey, a lot of dumb people represent your country. If they want for a certain individual to win, if they want for a certain law to pass, it's going to pass because it's their country. And the vast majority of the country, the vast majority of the population, they're going to decide how the country is going to be lived and to be enforced because they are the vast majority. That's why I'm all for democracy. Even if he's dumb, even if he has a low IQ, even if he has no education and no knowledge, everyone above the age of 18 should have the right to vote. Female, male, white, black, Arab, Asian, Muslim, Christian, Jewish. If you're a citizen in that country, you should have the right to vote because you're a citizen there, meaning you pay your taxes there, you live there, you work there, you have fun there, you have friends there. You're a citizen there. So you should have the right to vote, and you should have a say in what happens in your country through politics, economy, and whatever else. Like Plato once said, he who does not desire power is fit to hold it. I understand that because a person who does not desire power, if he was to get power, there's less chances of his ego getting in the way and him fucking up society and fucking up people's lives because of his ego and his own personal ambitions. Because like or not, leadership is not the power to command, but is the courage to serve. When you're a leader, you're not a true leader. Isn't someone who commands and only does what was going to be best for him and what's best for him and what he feels like doing. It's not, like it says, it's not the power to command, but it's the courage to serve. If we appoint you as our leader, you have to serve us because you're our leader. We gave you that power because we want you and we feel like you're the best person to make our lives better and to serve us in order to make our lives better. That was a quote from Plato. And then he went on to say, he who cannot be a good follower cannot be a good leader. That's also a question of ego. Because in order to be a good leader, you have to be selfless and not selfish. That is where people get it twisted. Many people think that in order to be a good leader and that in general leaders are selfish because they think about themselves. It's the fucking opposite. In order to be a good leader, in order to be able to lead to your best capacities and to your best capabilities to lead a population, a country, you have to be selfless and to think deeper and outside the box and not only about what's best for you, but what's best for the society and what's best for society, especially in the time that you currently are. That is what a leader is. And that's the most important quality that a leader has to have. To not be selfless and to know how to serve and to know how to call the shots for what would be best for the vast majority of the society, of the population, and not for yourself. Okay, so talking about Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. So let me give you a quick, because I feel like we all know those three names, but I feel like many people don't know really the history behind it. So let me give you a quick backstory of Plato, because I just read many of his quotes. He's one of the biggest fucking philosophers. He's one of the founding fathers of Western philosophy. Him, Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. Those three are like the founding fathers of Western philosophy. So let me give you a quick background on it. Much of Western philosophy finds its basis in the thoughts and teachings of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. You can't begin a study of world philosophy without talking about these guys, the big three ancient Greek philosophers. When I was in school, in college or in university, and I had many philosophy classes because I was in human sciences and then in social sciences. So like it or not, I talked a lot about politics, politics also, but we talked a lot about philosophy. So Socrates was the big city philosopher in ancient Athens, accused and convicted of corrupting the youth. His only real crime was embarrassing and irritating a number of important people. His punishment was death. Famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." They sentenced him to death because they felt like he was corrupting the youth. But the only thing he was actually doing is exposing reality, exposing the truth, and asking the hard and tough questions that people don't want to ask themselves or to ask others, because those questions are uncomfortable and they're touchy subjects and sensitive subjects. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, throughout history, that's always been the case. People don't like to talk about things that they don't like to talk about. But it's especially those things that we have to talk about in order for us to become better as human beings and in order for our society to become better and to evolve. We have to talk about those things that people don't want to talk about. We have to. Socrates liked to talk about it. So of course they convicted him and accused him of corrupting the youth, whilst that was not the case. Socrates didn't write any books. He just liked to ask probing and sometimes humiliating questions, which gave rise to the famous Socratic method of teaching. The street corner philosopher made a career of deflating pompous windbags. Like I said, whenever you humiliate someone publicly, that's like the worst thing someone can do. That's like the worst thing that can happen to you, for you to get humiliated publicly. That's also the reason why we hate public speaking, is because there's the more you speak publicly, there's more chances of you getting humiliated publicly. And no one wants to get embarrassed publicly. It's the worst thing. Plato, the philosopher who would be king. An aristocratic man with plenty of money and a superb physique, Plato at one time won 2 prizes as a championship wrestler. Actually, the man's real and little-known name was Aristotle. Plato was just a nickname given to him by his friends, whose original connotation made reference to his broad shoulders. Plato became an enthusiastic and talented student of Socrates and wrote famous dialogues featuring his teacher verbally grappling with opponents. Our wrestler believed in the pre-existence and immortality of the soul, holding that life is nothing more than the imprisonment of the soul in a body. In addition to the physical world, there is a heavenly realm of greater reality consisting in forms, ideals, or ideas such as equality, justice, humanity, and so on. As his crowning achievement, he wrote a famous treatise, The Republic, on the ideal society, in which he expressed the thought that a philosopher of all people should be king. Aristotle, A Long Walk to the Golden Mean. Aristotle was Plato's best student. He went on to become the very well-paid tutor, probably the highest-paid philosopher in history, of Alexander the Great. Aristotle started his own philosophical school when he was 50 years old, although he lived only 10 more years. He produced nearly 1,000 books and pamphlets, only a few of which have survived. This great thinker was called a peripatetic philosopher. Peripateo means to walk around, because he liked to lecture to his students while taking a walk. Another group of philosophers were called Stoics because they preferred sitting around on porches when they shot the breeze. This is also something that I recently read and learned about, and Freud said it is, whatever thought you get inside, that is a bad thought and it's not a real thought. So whichever thought you get, this happens to me sometimes. Whenever I'm just laying on my couch for hours and hours, I start getting weird and negative thoughts, and I'm like, what kind of fucking thoughts are these? They're like bad thoughts, they're negative thoughts, they're thoughts that bring me down and make me feel like shit. What's happening? And then I just simply go for a walk for like 10,000 steps, 5,000 steps, and those thoughts just fade away. And I was just like, yo, those were actually really fucking stupid thoughts. Why did I even entertain those thoughts? And why did I even have those thoughts? And why did I even slightly believe in those thoughts? It's because your brain chemistry simply functions differently when you're sitting around and doing nothing and when you're walking and doing some physical work. Because our physical body is connected to our mental brain. It's all connected. It's not two different things. They go together. So that's something I learned, and it fascinated me, and also it made me realize, like, yeah, it's actually fucking true, because whenever I go for a walk, or whenever you finish a gym session, like, your mind is clearer, your thoughts are better, you're just more confident, you have more energy, life is better, you're more, like, there's just more out of you. And it's just, like, you don't have these stupid thoughts. It's because our body, the more physically exhausted your body is, the more mentally your brain feels good. That's a fucking fact. That's why whenever you start having weird thoughts, and when you think about it, all those weird thoughts normally come from when you're just sitting around doing nothing, not working, not doing anything. That is necessarily and especially when those thoughts come. But when you go for a walk, when you hit the gym, when you go for a run, whatever, your mind just simply gets better. That's why working out is so important. That's why fitness is so important. That is why a fit body is so important. Not because it's sexy to look at, not because it's beautiful to look at. Of course, that is also one aspect. But it's mostly because the mental clarity you get and the peace of mind you get from working out and from being in shape and from being fit and from liking and doing physical work, going to the gym, whatever, the mind process that happens, you get such a peaceful mind, peaceful thoughts, beautiful thoughts. You get way more dopamine. You get way more serotonin. You become way more confident. You become way more competent, and you become way more dominant as a human being simply by working out or going for a walk and being physically fit and in good shape. A key theme in Aristotle's thought is that happiness is the goal of life. I agree. Happiness is the goal of life. And the only way you can reach happiness It's not by chasing money, not by chasing fame, status. It's by doing what you like to do. It's by doing what you're passionate about. That is the only way you will reach happiness, is by doing what you are passionate about. In my opinion, that's the best way and the fastest way to reach happiness. Aristotle was a good deal less otherworldly than Plato. He voluntarily went into exile from Athens when conditions become a bit politically dangerous from him. In his words, lest Athens sin twice against philosophy. The founder of logical theory, Aristotle believed that the greatest human endeavor is the use of reason and theoretical activity. One of his best known ideas was his conception of the golden mean, to avoid extremes, the counsel of moderation in all things. I agree. That's why I have these tattoos of 3 birds on my left forearm, and I have here written in Greek, know yourself, which is the first Greek maxim. The second one is nothing to excess, and the third one is surety brings ruin. That is why I put 3 little birds for 3 different maxims of ancient Greece. And that is a fact. Nothing to excess, avoid extremes, and moderation is the key to happiness. Moderation in everything. When I say go to the gym, I'm not saying be a gym. I mean, you can be a gym rat, but don't necessarily just live in the gym and just consecrate your life to being in shape and hitting the gym. At the same time, don't just consecrate your life to making money and going to work. Don't consecrate your life to just going to bars, hanging out with your friends. Have a good mix of everything and a good balance in everything. Balance is the key to a happy and successful and a positively longevity of life, of happiness. Balance is the key. Okay, let's get back to this reality check. Okay, so guys, we've all seen Justin Trudeau with Katy Perry and Coachella. I don't want to bash him. I'm not going to do it because, hey, he's not prime minister anymore and he can live his life, and good for him for being with Katy Perry. I don't know how fucking he pulled it, but hey, he's with Katy Perry. But I'm just going to say one thing quickly. As a guy, I'm just going to say quickly. The way he dressed, broski, he's 54 years old and he dressed like a 19-year-old teenager with his fucking, with his cap backwards and with his skinny jeans and whatever. Broski, you're like 54 years old. That's the only thing I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else. He's not prime minister anymore. He's living his life. I wish him all the best, to him and Katy Perry and his kids, whatever. But just quickly, as a man, the way you dressed, broski, you're not 19 years old. That's all I'm going to say. Skinny jeans, hat. I wear skinny jeans, but I'm fucking 25 years old. There's a bit difference right there. If I was 54 and I still wear skinny jeans, someone please punch me in the face. If I'm 54 years old, I don't wear caps because I have long hair, so I prefer to just not wear caps. But if one day I'm 54 years old, I'm a dad to like 3-4 kids, I'm married with a wife and an ex-wife, and I wear skinny jeans with a backwards cap, please someone punch me in the fucking face. That's the only thing I'm going to say. That's it. Okay, so let's talk about streamers a little bit, okay? I don't know why people hate streamers so much. I don't know why they hate them so much. Yes, they're streamers. It's social media. They will be looking to rage bait people. That is what streamers do. But I just find it funny when streamers rage bait people because I don't take it personally. I just don't give a fuck. And on top of that, I don't know why people hate Clavicular so much. He's just simply a guy, and he is autistic. He is something. I don't know what he is. But he's simply a guy who wants to maximize his looks. Now, of course, does he go to the extremes? Of fucking course. Do I agree with his methods? No, he takes crystal meth and he takes a lot of drugs and he takes all these crazy supplements to reach a physique, whatever. I'm against it because at the end of the day, I understand that those drugs that he takes, peptides, steroids, meth, whatever, I understand that it will in a way make you leaner and better shape, whatever. But in the long run, it's not healthy for your body, and health is wealth. And I'm all for health. Yes, going to the gym is healthy, but if you're going to the gym and then you're taking roids and then you're taking crystal meth and all these other shit you can take, at the end of the day, all that put together, that's not a healthy lifestyle. It's a fucking junky lifestyle. It is what it is. Don't get mad, but it is what it is. But I don't understand why people hate Clavicular so much. He's not political. He never talks about politics. He never talks about religion. He never talks about societal problems. He's just simply a fucking 20-year-old guy who wants to maximize his looks. That's all he fucking does. So I don't understand why people hate him. I don't know where it comes from. I just find him funny because sometimes I see him, like I see clips and I just find it fucking hilarious, the things he does. Like I think I saw a clip of him like holding a like, you know those guns where you can massage your muscles? Like he was holding that gun and he was just punching his cheekbones with that gun. Like I know, like his logic is when you when you make fractures on your cheekbones, they like grow stronger. I don't know if it's true, but I heard many plastic surgeons say that that's not the case, that it's bullshit. So maybe it's not true. But there's like a video of him doing it. And he's doing it in front of a cop, and the cop is just like, bro, what are you doing right now? He's like, well, I'm making micro fractures in my cheekbones so they grow stronger. The cop's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I just find it funny. I don't know why people hate him. Like I said, he never speaks about politics. He never talks about religion. I honestly don't think he even cares about it. He doesn't give a fuck. He never talks about societal problems. He never has a strong opinion regarding humans or society or human relationships, whatever. He literally just talks about maximizing his looks. That's the only thing he talks about. Although I did see him drop the N-word a lot. Maybe that's why some people hate him. That's understandable. That people hate him for him dropping the N-word so much. That I can understand why people could hate him. But other than that, like, and the way he drops the N-word, I think he just wants to be funny, cool, whatever, be controversial. I don't think he actually thinks that black people are beneath him. Maybe he does. Maybe, hey, don't quote me. I don't know him more than that. I don't really watch his streams. I don't know his political opinions regarding black people and whatever. I don't know what his opinions are. So I'm just saying that, yes, he did drop the N-word, which he shouldn't be dropping the N-word. But at the same time, the way he drops it, it's like, it's not out of hatred. He just said it because he wants to be funny. He wants to be cool. So even then, I wouldn't give a fuck. If he was to say a slur against Serbians, I wouldn't give a fuck because I just find it funny. Because in my opinion, the way I see him and the way he would say it, just as he does with the N-word, he says it in a way not to insult you or degrade you, but just to be funny, controversial, and to be cool, quote unquote. So that's why I don't understand why people hate him so much. Maybe some people find him weird. I find him weird. Yes, of course I find him weird. But whenever I find someone weird, I don't hate him. I just find him weird. I'm like, okay, like that's kind of weird. But hey, you do you, live your life. You do whatever you want. That's your life. I have my opinion regarding what he does, mostly regarding him wanting to maximize his looks. I mean, there's nothing wrong there. But the way he does it, that's what's fucked up. That's what is actually fucked up. Taking drugs, crystal meth, hitting his face so it becomes whatever else. That's kind of fucked up, and I'm actually against it. I mean, living a healthy lifestyle, if that's considered looks maxing, I'm all for it. Being healthy, going to the gym, having a proper body weight, if that's considered looks maxing, then I'm all for it because it's really fucking healthy for you and it's really good for your body, for yourself, and for your brain, and just everything else in general. But yes, I mean, clavicular, in my opinion, he is weird, and he's definitely autistic. Maybe he is portraying a personality, but at the end of the day, he is a live streamer, so he probably live streams his life 24/7. I don't know if all live streamers do 24/7 live streams. I know Kai Cenat did it a lot, iShowSpeed and other streamers. But to be a live streamer, you cannot portray a fake lifestyle. You cannot be a fake person, because you can be fake for 30 minutes, 1 hour, but for the entire day, for weeks and months and years, that cannot be the fact. So he is who he is. The way we see him is who he actually is. Maybe in front of the camera, he adds a bit of sauce. He exaggerates a bit more his personality, so it's more dramatic and it catches more the attention of the viewers. Maybe that's what he does. But at the end of the day, I mean, from what I saw, he is slightly weird and probably slightly autistic. And his autistic power is like knowing what's the perfect face ratio and what's the perfect like body. That's like his autistic power. You know how they say that like Messi is autistic and his superpower is playing soccer? I've heard many people say that autistics, they have like a special power. If that's the case, if it's true, I don't know if it's true. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, and I don't really have any information on what autism brings and what entitles someone that's autistic and what's the pros and cons, I guess, of being autistic. And if they actually do have superpowers, I don't know if that's true. But if it is, hey, Clavicular's superpower is knowing what it takes to be good looking. That's a superpower. And talking about autism, recently I saw that in Western civilization, in the West, we're having autism problems. The percentage of autism is getting higher and higher due to lack of socialization between young people, because they stay more at home, they play more video games, they're more glued to their phone, they have less social interactions with other human beings, and that is what is causing there to be a higher percentage of autistic people and autism in the West. And that is a real problem. I'm not gonna lie, humans are born to be social, and they're made to be social. We need socialization. We are happy when we are social. If you look at the number one cause for a man to kill himself is because he lacks social activity. That is the number one cause. And whenever you want to see someone who's on the brink of killing himself and becoming depressive, he stops being social. When someone stops being social, that can be a real fucking problem. Now, there's a difference between someone becoming less social because he wants to lock in more. That's different. Let's say you're someone who used to go out from Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and then Wednesday night. You used to go out every single time, and that would fuck up your finance, your professional career, and your relationships. And then you tone it down and you focus more on your career, on your relationships, and everything else. That's different. That's simply locking in. But there's a big difference between locking in and simply going rogue and not talking to anyone and just completely desocializing yourself from society. There's a huge difference. One is really fucking healthy and really good for you, and the other one isn't. Locking in is really fucking good for you. A real lock-in is really good for you. Going to the gym, going to work, making money, accomplishing your dreams, hitting goals, hitting targets. That's good. Desocializing yourself, going rogue, going solo, becoming a lone wolf, you're going to become autistic if you're not already. And your life, you're going to be depressive, and it's just going to be worse and worse and worse. You're not going to go to the gym because you're going to feel like shit. You're not going to go to work ambitious and trying to make money because you're going to feel like shit. And your relationships are going to be poor. And the main reason, the most important, is you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel like shit. And you're maybe going to take your life and kill yourself. So we have in the West, as much as I love the West, like I said, I'm not afraid to talk about problems of the West, things that you do bad and things that you do good, because I simply see it how it is. I'm not afraid to say it how it is. It is what it is. We have a problem with autism in the West. Talking about these streamers and about fame, like I did in the beginning, the power of not giving a fuck about what people think is one of the biggest powers you can have as a human being throughout your life. One of the biggest powers. It's so freeing. It frees you to do whatever you want to do, and it gives you the power and the will to want to accomplish whatever you wish and want to accomplish. It gives you also motivation because you don't give a fuck anymore about what other people think. We all know, we all care about what other people think. Some more, some less. But the ones who care a lot, it drains a lot of their energy, and we only have limited energy. Our energy isn't limitless, it's limited, meaning that it's not unlimited. So we have to be really careful with who's allowed with our energy, who has access to our energy, and what has access to our energy. We really need to be careful with it because it's limited. If it was unlimited, then we wouldn't need to be careful because it's unlimited. But it's not unlimited. Just like money. If you don't have unlimited money, you have to be careful with it because it's limited. Same goes with energy. Human energy, our energy is limited. And whenever you care what other people think, it drains you and it takes away your limited energy. And instead of putting your energy on other people and what they may think and on other people's opinions, when you don't give a fuck what other people think, you take that energy and you put it in things that actually matter and that will actually make you live a better life and that will actually help you in accomplishing your dreams, hitting your targets, reaching your goals, and fulfilling your full destiny. So not giving a fuck, the power to not give a fuck what other people think, it's so freeing, it's so powerful, and it's so fucking beautiful, man. Let me end this episode with a quote from Joel Osteen, the beautiful the amazing preacher, Joel Osteen, the multi-millionaire preacher, Joel Osteen. And he said, God doesn't make any mistakes. Zero. When he created you, he wasn't having a bad day. He didn't accidentally leave something out and now you're at a disadvantage. God calls you a masterpiece. You have royal blood flowing through your veins. He's crowned you with his favor. You're not lacking. You're not a disadvantage. You're not at a disadvantage. You have everything you need to fulfill your destiny. And this goes for every single human being to have ever existed, to exist currently, and to ever exist in the future. It goes for every single human being. That was it, guys, for this episode. See you next episode. Peace out.